Today, I'm taking you to another dimension as we are going to be discussing slavery and how Nigeria played a role. So, I'm taking you to the Bridge of No Return, a particular place in Nigeria where slaves were transported, carried from Nigeria to America and Europe. This place is called the Bridge of No Return. Once you get here, the rest is history. It's either you survive or you are gone.
Alright guys, this trip to Nigeria and this visit to Akwa Ibom State is not just about showing the beautiful places in Akwa Ibom, but we also have the intention to showcase the history of this place and how Akwa Ibom contributed to the history of Nigeria and the history of black people in general. And so we are here at the Amalgamation House. As you can see, in 1914, at the very beginning of slave trade. So this is an incredible video where we will learn about slavery and slave trade, how people were transported from Nigeria and the entire West Africa to go and be slaves in America. So even black Americans, slaves all over the world, descendants of slaves, and how black people spread across the world, will get that information in this particular video. So this is going to be an interesting one. I'm inviting you to keep watching, stay close, and pay close attention because it's about to get crazy. God bless you.
So as you can see, this is the Bridge of No Return. Reading for yourself, you will understand the magnitude and the impact. But we will try to explain to you what exactly transpired here. So as you can see, this hole or tunnel or a small cage is where everything begins. This is where you need to pay attention and understand exactly what was going on here. I mean, it's mind-blowing. We are doing a documentary.
So, this is where we had the bunker back in the day. By the time you are in here, you have been put in here, definitely you know you're not coming back. It's either you survive the high sea or you are left at the high sea. Let's go in and see what happens down there.
Calm down.
Yeah.
If you're on the ground, you can collect it.
So basically,
How the bunker looks like. Now, back in the day, you used to have hundreds of stuck in here and being shipped, outside the country, to America and the likes. Hundreds of persons be stuck in here, and afterwards, the ship will come and transport them out of here. I mean, the place is quite small, and it's tough if you actually, but this is what Africa is going through at the time. This is the bunker. When you hear Bridge of No Return, this is it. This is where the destiny of millions of people lie upon. Millions of the destinies of Africans lie upon back in the day. The Bridge of No Return. Ajim, come up.
Point of no return.
So Ajim, this is the point of no return, but you return. What can you say about that?
To be honest, being in here in this hole with this kind of small space, this kind of heat, and you can imagine the number of people that were being stuck in here at the same time. You can imagine what our ancestors went through. And mind you, at that time, we didn't have Nigeria, we didn't have Ghana, we didn't have Cameroon, we didn't have all these names we have today. We were just West Africa, we were just Africans. So you don't know who was transported here. So this is part of our history and we cannot take it for granted. This is what our forefathers went through. This is what the Europeans, the Americans, they did to us. And this should be part of our history. We should keep this in mind when we go out there, especially for Nigerians in the diaspora, Nigerians in America, Nigerians in the UK, Nigerians all over Europe. Let us remember this history because this history is what gives us the motivation. This is the history. When we remember this, we know that we have a point to prove. If you are a medical doctor, if you are an engineer, if you are a football player, you're playing with a different mindset because This is probably where you would have been if some people did not fight to end this terrible act of slavery. And our ancestors went through this. I'm telling you, I just went down there. I didn't spend 10 minutes. Look at how I'm sweating. Imagine being stuck in here and transported on these high waters across to America and across to Europe. Then you would imagine the magnitude and the impact of slave trade on our ancestors. Thank you. Keep watching. Basically, after about 150 to 200 people are stuck into this hole, this place is covered. So the only way they can have access to oxygen, the only way they can breathe, the only way they can feel like human beings is through this hole. So they will open up this screws, this place, remove this place, and I believe there are just two of them. So basically, they will have access to oxygen only from these two small holes. Imagine 150 to 200 people. No doubt many of them did not survive this high water. Look at the water. This is the Atlantic Ocean, I believe so. So you can imagine traveling across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to America or Europe, wherever they were transporting these people to, through this kind of tight space. Come on. This history should be remembered. This history should be taught to our children so we know where we are coming from, what our forefathers went through, and what we have to do as Africans of this generation to make sure that we regain our pride and our value. That's why I'll continue to celebrate Nigerians across the world, because if Africa is respected today, it's thanks to Nigerians. If Africa is known as a great place today, it's thanks to the influence and the work that Nigerians are doing across the world. This is why we decided that we must continue this mission until Africans and the rest of the world respect Africans for who they truly are. Thank you. So for those of you in America, a lot of you, those black Americans and the blacks across Europe, if you are watching this video, please, I want you to note that this chain is what they use to actually chain your forefathers. The chain is very, very heavy. This chain weighs about 10 kilograms. So this chain was actually what they used to hang your forefathers on top of the chain up there, on top of the weighing anchor up there, in order to take your forefathers' weight and see if it's a wealthy slave and see the price. That is basically, they use this chain weigh your father as if it's a goat, as if it's a cattle, as if it's an animal, to see his weight so that they can sell him off. So if he has more weight, more money. If he's looking more healthy, that's the more money. And this iron you're looking at here, you can see the edge, you can see how thick the iron is. This is basically their bow marker as of those days. So they will hit this to make sure it's red, so they can use it to burn a mark onto your body, because there were so many buyers of slaves back then. So some people, we have to put their specific markers on their own slaves, because each company or each buyer has their own mark that they put on their slave. This thing that is hot, red, that's what they used to put on their body to create that mark and differentiate them from other slaves. You can imagine your father going through this. Imagine yourself going through this. Imagine somebody you love going through this kind of pain. That is what our ancestors, our forefathers went through. It's a sad one. Thank you.
So basically, this entire community, this entire area was like a slave market or a slave center. The British had their offices. The slave buyers had where they can stay. The people who were selling, who were in charge, they had their own places. So by the time you get here, you will notice that every single house here is old, 1914. So basically, the houses are those ancient ones.
So I am here at the amalgamation house. Actually, back in the day, these was the offices where they were British occupied, you know, back in time. That's about as way back as 1914. I mean, that's way long. I'm not sure my grandfather was born there. A whole lot of documents are piled up here. Man, it was crazy. It was crazy. The entire complex is actually dilapidated, but I won't bore you with all of that. But as you see, like I said, a whole lot of work needs to be done. The government of the day has to intervene and make this place one of the best tourist sites ever we've had in Akwa Ibom State and beyond. Okay, so after the event of the amalgamation, it is on record that this is where the judges stayed at the time. I'm going to take a trip around the entire vicinity and the terrain so you get to see what happened at the amalgamation. I mean, it's going to be an interesting episode, like Ajib had earlier said. It's going to be emotional as well because, I mean, a whole lot had happened over time. You know, we get to know that Nigeria had developed and things had happened very well. Things had gone crazy, you know, but we didn't know how it all happened. So if you go through, definitely from the videos, you're going to see these were where they are the residents of the judges at the time.
Like those who were trying to stop the slavery.
Yes, of course, of course.
So this was like the house, and those are
Yes.
those are Nigerians actually.
Absolutely, a whole lot of them. So we still go upstairs, so we see their residents how it looked like at the time. Anyway, but back in the day, most of their stuff was too solid. Now, the real essence of this video is to call on the Nigerian government, Akwa Ibom State government, as well as Nigerian government, to look for a way to see how they can rehabilitate these features, because this is supposed to be one of the most important tourism sites in Nigeria. You know, where people come in to learn about history and what transpired over time to where we are getting the freedom and independence, you know, we are enjoying today. A whole lot has happened before now, before 1960. You know, slave trade was on the rise, as well as the colonialism from the British government. But here we are today. We don't really know what happened, how people fought for our independence. This is where most of the things happened, and this is where it all started. You know, the structures are dilapidated, and we are calling on the Akwa Ibom State government, as well as Nigerian government, to come and see how they can bring all of this to light so that this can be one of the most important historical places in the country. Whoa.
A trip to this place is worth it for every Nigerian, for every African, for every black person, especially those our brothers and sisters in America, because you never can tell. Probably this is where your ancestors were taken. Probably this is where your own history started. And so we cannot take this place for granted. We decided to visit this place because this place holds a great information to our existence and our story as black people. And I hope you enjoy watching this video. Please let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. And of course, feel free to get to us. If you're looking for a way to contact me, I always leave or pin a comment on the comment section with my WhatsApp and email address so you can get to me. Once again, I really appreciate, guys. Thank you for walking with me on this journey. There is more to come. God bless you all. Cheers.